Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Jason with Jadren Aquatics. Thanks for hanging out with me again in the new fish room. So today we're going to kind of go over some different things about this fish room, some things maybe I didn't quite explain well enough. The first thing that I actually want to touch on right now as we're in here, I told you guys before that it looked like I finally got the heating under control, but I'm still actually struggling with it. But some of the things that I've done to make it a little bit better and is so first of all, when you have a tank and you've got it actually full of water and that water heats up and you get that water to, let's say, 78 degrees, then that tank now emits heat out of it. So if your room is cooling down, the tank itself is literally trying to heat the room. I mean, it's sort of the same principle of the heater over here. That the heater, as it heats up, it's heating the air that's around it. Now that's obviously powered so that the tank can't do it as much. But the thing about it is the more of these tanks that you have in here that actually have water in them, and you get the temperature of that water up to about 78 degrees, as the room tries to cool down, all of these tanks are actually producing heat out of them to keep the room warmer. And so on that note, one of the things you have to think about is if you don't have a top on these tanks, the tanks are going to cool down a lot. At my house in the fish room, the tanks that, let's say we have two 20-gallon longs side by side. One of them has a top, the other one doesn't have a top. I can guarantee you the one that doesn't have the top on it is going to be about 3 to 4 degrees cooler than the one that has a top on it, because the top naturally holds the heat in. It's just like whenever you're cooking with a pot and you want to simmer it and you put the lid on top of it. It's going to hold a whole lot of that heat in, and it's not going to be as hard to cook the food. Same principle. So what I've done is I'm working on getting lids made for these. These lids aren't completely done. I simply cut them so that they would completely cover each one of these tanks. So you know, eventually you pull this stuff off. This is the twin wall polycarbonate stuff that I've used before. If you guys haven't seen that video on how to make these things, I'll link that above. I absolutely love this stuff. It's kind of expensive, but when you're doing a bunch of tanks at one time, it's a lot more affordable than glass. For instance, this stuff comes from Home Depot. It's in an 8-foot sheet, and that 8-foot costs $40, and out of that 8-foot sheet I can make 8 of these tops. Because these are only 11.5 inches each, so you're basically spending about $5. If you guys are enjoying this video, would you take just a quick second and click the like button? That way YouTube will share this video with other people. And for the 62.4% of you that are watching this video that are not subscribed to my channel, would love for you guys to become a part of my community and just click that subscribe button. It would really mean a lot to me per top. To make these, which is, you know, pretty affordable when it comes to a top. And so that's the importance of me putting these tops on here for now. I think this has actually helped keep the room probably 2 or 3 degrees warmer than I had been before. Again, these aren't finished. I'm actually gonna, you know, cut them here so that you can open this as a lid, and then this plastic stuff that's on top of here, this stuff actually gets removed, and I need to clean all this stuff off because you can see it's got that plastic all over it from where I was sawing it. So one of the other processes that I actually tried that I've seen a lot of other people do is using a dehumidifier. This dehumidifier I already had. I use it up at my print shop to get the humidity out of the air because you don't want to get humidity into paper. Normally when this thing runs, it doesn't have this pipe on it that I put on here, and this tub just fills up with water, but it only takes about less than 24 hours to fill this entire tub up. It's kind of amazing to think how much water is actually in the air. But by doing it this way, you can allow this thing to run continuous. So all the water that comes out of it goes down in here into the drain pipe along with all the other water that I have that goes into the drain pipe. Some people use these in the rooms to actually kind of keep the rooms a little bit warmer. I tried this. This does help some. It was probably only helping maybe 2 or 3 degrees. And when you think about the fact that this thing is 700 watts, that's a lot of electricity to use to only gain that small, just that small change. So right now you can hear it's not actually running. So what I've done is I've just set it so that the humidity never gets over 50% in here, so this thing doesn't run a whole lot. So I thought that was finally my answer to what I was going to do, but it's not exactly the answer that I was looking for. So what I've decided to do, I've had a couple of people who've really been helping me out that also have fish rooms, and they use an infrared heater. It's the same wattage, 1500 watt. It actually hangs on the wall. The only question that I have right now is I desperately need one that when the power goes out, it will come back on, and most heaters won't. Most heaters are digital, so when they come back on, someone's got to push the actual power button to make it come back on. So I'm getting mixed reads on Amazon on whether or not this one actually does it or not. And I've went through so many infrared heaters, I want to throw up. I don't want to see any more heaters. So that's the plan right now, is to try to get one of those infrared heaters and bring it in here and see if I can't get this finally under control. So that I can get some fish in here. All right, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about, I've had a few questions that's asked about this. This is the outlet valve. You can probably hear a little bit of the air that's coming out here right now. It's to let off some of the air pressure. So if this thing is running and it's designed to run 45 tanks, and you only have 12 tanks hooked up to it, you're going to have a tremendous amount of pressure that's going to build up in here, and you're probably going to actually ruin your pump. So the idea is you use this relief valve here to let off some of the pressure. So the more that you turn it, the more air that comes out of it. So I can turn it so far that it literally is just blowing full air, and then all of my pumps actually start, or we can stop, or we can do it again where we can slowly. You can hear the air starting to come out. We're slowly tightening it up, and then you can see all of the pumps start back up again. So that's the reason that you have this valve. This is something that's crucial if you're going to be putting too much pressure on these pipes. Next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the stands that I ended up getting. These are 84-inch stands. They're 84 inches wide. Originally, I was going to get the 72, but come to find out, the 72 is measured from this edge to the other far edge. And these tanks are 12 inches each. So that means to get 6 of them on here, it was not going to fit, because I was hoping that the 72 inches was based upon the distance between the inside of the legs, but it's not. So I would have only been able to get 5 on there. And so by getting the 84-inch ones, I can get 6 on here, as you see, and then we have this gap about this big that's actually the leftover space, which works out really good, because as you can see here, this is an add-on that I put onto these stands just for safety purposes. The stands are designed to hold the amount of weight that's on them, but I like to over-engineer everything so that I don't have to worry about it. So you can see what I've done is I notch out these 2x4s and put them in there to provide the stability that this thing needs. So you need a gap between the tanks so that this thing can fit. If these things were butted up against each other, I wouldn't be able to do that. So that's the reason that I decided to go that way. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is I've heard other people try to use these stands for 20-gallon talls, and they've had problem with getting them to set on here. And the reason that is that the distance between these stands is exactly 24 inches, and the length of the tanks is exactly 24 inches. So when you put them up on these things, on the top part of the stand, they don't sit on there very well at all. So what I do is I just buy these small, these are like 1x2s or something. I think 1x2s, I think is what they are. And then I cut them down so that they're about 26 inches long. And then that way, when you put these in here, the tank is actually setting flush on top of this wood. And that way it's setting all the way down, so you're getting a nice cushion for the tank to set on. on. Whereas if you were to try to put it in here, the only part of the tank that would sit would just kind of be sitting on this ridge, which can cause all kind of problems. So that's why you actually see the reason that I do this. Sometimes at home, in my fish room at home, you'll see I actually put some of that blue insulation on top of it to give it a little bit more cushion. But these tanks just being 20 gallons, it's really not necessarily needed. So this way actually works very, very well. All right, last thing I want to talk to you guys about that's very, very important is when you're setting up your stands, the distance between the wall and here that you do is critical. Now I know more than anything, you want to take this stand and you want to butt it up against this wall so that you have way more space on this side. But you're going to need to get back here. It's absolutely inevitable. Something is going to go wrong that you're going to need to get back here. So if one of those middle tanks, I started having problems with the overflows, I would have to take down other tanks to be able to get to that tank. So that's why I provide this space in here. Now let me tell you, this space is not a set number. This space is determined by how large your belly is, okay? So I have this one where it's set at about 15 inches. That way I can comfortably get back there. It's a sort of a tight squeeze, but it's not completely uncomfortable. I kind of have to sidestep it to actually go through here. Let's see if we can kind of get a shot of that. So as you can see me back here, you can see that okay, here's belly space right here. Belly space is right here. We're right up against it. And so what's actually funny about this, I have this same distance at home that I have to deal with, and I check my weight ever so often on a scale, and it's not so much that I'm concerned about whether or not I'm getting too fat or too skinny. I have to keep my weight around about 185 because if I start gaining too much weight, I can no longer actually fit behind my stands. I know you're thinking, Jason, that's ridiculous, but it's absolutely true. It's critical that my belly not get any bigger than it currently is, or I can't go back behind here without sucking in my belly so far to get in. So my weight is literally controlled by my fish room. I know, absolutely crazy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you guys got some great pointers on, again, while you're setting up your fish room. So you guys got any questions or comments, be sure and leave them down below. So thanks again, guys, and God bless.